Ford just dropped a bombshell, and Trump's furious reaction is shaking up the nation. A direct challenge to Trump's America First policies. Ford's recent bombshell announcement has sent shockwaves through the nation, making it clear they're no longer willing to play by Trump's rules. This wasn't just another corporate update. It was a bold challenge to Trump's America First policies. By shifting a significant portion of its electric vehicle production overseas, Ford made a statement that resonated far beyond the auto industry. The roots of this decision run deep, stemming from mounting pressure caused by Trump's tariffs and the increasing costs of domestic production. Ford tried to balance its legacy as a pillar of American manufacturing with the demands of staying competitive in a rapidly evolving global market. The rising costs of materials like lithium and cobalt, coupled with supply chain disruptions, pushed Ford to make a choice: prioritize global growth and innovation, or risk falling behind. To Ford, this move signaled a commitment to sustainability and a bid to lead the global EV revolution. But to Trump and his supporters, it felt like a betrayal of American workers and the very ideals he championed. As Trump fired back with fierce rhetoric, accusing Ford of abandoning its roots, the lines were drawn for a battle that could redefine the future of American industry: the unexpected bombshell. The entire nation experienced the shock when Ford launched their unexpected decision. The automotive industry functions as a prominent arena between international politics and trade conflicts and political economic domination. The latest move from Ford went beyond corporate strategy because it directly confronted the economic approach used by Donald Trump. Default Message sent a jolt nationwide when Ford started its plan to send major electric vehicle production components overseas. The United States has honored Ford as a primary representation of its industrial production processes for numerous decades. Since its origin in Detroit's industrial power base, the company endured multiple economic downturns and government interventions and changes in consumer trends. The blue oval emblem of Ford has become an identity mark, representing both American steadfastness and technical prowess, showing America's capacity to construct and evolve as an empire. The Ford assembly facilities acted as economic cornerstones for numerous American towns, since families throughout multiple generations worked there to maintain production lines. The organization conducted this strategic step as much as a declaration as it did for business reasons. The factory shift caught many off guard because it appeared as a part of Ford's commitment to sustainability and international growth, although others recognized it as an outright rejection of Trump's America First policies. The automotive industry became a central focus of Obama's economic procedures during his presidency. The foundation of Trump's political identity consisted of implementing trade barriers against imports together with tax benefits to domestic producers and strong job creation promises at home. Many took the announcement negatively because it represented a violation of faith to supporters who trusted Trump's policies would protect domestic employment and economic sectors. The response was immediate and explosive. Soon after the decision, Trump delivered a social media criticism of what he judged as disturbing leadership. Trump fires back, a declaration of war. Soon after the announcement, Trump reacted through public statements. Within fewer than 12 hours of the news breaking, Trump employed his social media, rally appearances, and televised interviews to deliver complete criticism against Ford. At one of his lively rallies, he stated, "We built Ford," to complicit audience members. The American worker built Ford. In recent times, Ford has withdrawn its support from American workers. It's a disgrace, folks. Through statements that bypassed political jargon, he stated his intention to start a company confrontation. Trump's anger toward the situation extended beyond workforce reduction to a level of personal upset. As a symbol of American industrial ingenuity and resilience, Trump considered Ford to be an essential part of the Northern America manufacturing region he promised to support during his time in office. Through this movie release, he recognized two fundamental breaches, both against American employees and against his America First national agenda principles. Through his public statement, Trump demanded all American consumers to stop buying Ford vehicles while labeling the company as both unfaithful and un-American. The president held back no words when addressing the crowd as he yelled, "Let them take their foreign-made vehicles" to customers outside the United States, while getting cheers from the red MAGA hat crowd. "We don't need them. The United States will develop superior products on its home soil." https UTU DE Y Lyle Agshak 0x and 3K Sius SI7VZ WKOBBU 1900 to 2012. Falls from political positions spread well past the boundaries of social media. Conservative politicians formed new legislation to impose maximum taxation on companies which outsource operations abroad or relocate their workforce overseas. Among pundits, there was a heated discussion about how American manufacturing and economy would be affected by ongoing considerations regarding economic penalties and tariffs. Ford experienced a full-scale media controversy during this period. The company leaders hastily explained their decision by stating it would establish their global market position and increase electric vehicle production rates through their strategic move. Company representatives highlighted the fact that American workers would maintain most operations, while battery manufacturing expansions and technological investments happened within domestic borders. The harm to the relationship endured. The supporters of Donald Trump considered Ford to have violated a boundary. Trump's populist agenda faced rising opposition against corporate America, to the point that their interests became increasingly distinct. The relationship which Trump originally built with corporate America was starting to fade away. Trump warned all businesses running offshore job operations that economic sanctions would accompany active political attacks. The former president spoke with intense passion during his interview to declare, "We're taking names, folks," during the interview. America holds all businesses responsible for betrayal against its nation. The root of the conflict, economic pressures and global shifts, the friction between automakers and the Trump administration had been growing for some time, especially in regard to tariffs and a fierce civil war brewing over the global supply chain. For years, Trump built his platform around the idea of bringing manufacturing jobs back to the States. By imposing heavy tariffs on steel, aluminum, and auto parts, Trump was under the impression that the higher the import cost would incentivize companies to reinvest in American workers. Theoretically, this was a gutsy economic position. Practically, however, this created immense financial hurdles for automakers such as Ford, who had to navigate through a complex web of international trade to procure materials for vehicle production. Ford executives were walking a very thin line. On one hand, while they preserved their public image as American institutions with strong connotations of blue-collar esteem and grit, at the same time, they knew very well they would have to deal with ever-rising production costs, coupled with the sobering fact of an imperative for EV transition. Competing in the global arena meant moving fast, and Ford saw expanding opportunities overseas as a necessary route to continue gaining ground in the EV race. The decision to move production of a good share of its electric vehicles from America to overseas was not made willy-nilly. It is a carefully considered strategic response to the evolving market that is seeing a quick uptick in global demands for EVs. China and Germany, for instance, have invested heavily in the EV infrastructure on their respective territories, making production much closer to such markets far less costly, hence more efficient. And of course, it would make the search for such resources, like lithium and cobalt, critical components in EV batteries, possible through partnerships around the globe. Underutilization of U.S. production still could not add up to addressing the rising demand. The fallout, boycotts, backlash, and brand loyalty. With each passing day, political battles intensified, and on the economic side, fallout became apparent. Consumers took sides. The Trump loyalists called for a boycott of the Ford vehicle. Online, hashtags like Daum Boycott Ford and Why Made in America trended side by side as people debated whether Ford made a smart business call or was betraying its lineage. Dealers in Trump-leaning states encountered a considerable drop in Ford sales, while progressive cities showed interest in the new electric lineup from Ford. The schism had grown into one that was partly political and partially about commerce and the future of commerce in America. Slowly, other automakers looked to the unfolding drama with caution. Companies like GM and Toyota had been pursuing a tight operation ever since, setting up their EV strategies explicitly for overseas competition. But Ford became the lightning rod, and whatever was to come could set a standard for just how businesses strayed around political pressure. Analysts started to speculate that this backlash to Ford's decision might affect future corporate strategies, as few businesses would think twice about how they would manage controversy in times of political unrest. As controversy unfolded, investors on Wall Street kept an eye on it. Ford's stock was extremely volatile, with a rapid slump in the beginning as fears of consumer backlash set in before settling, while investors placed their bets on a slow but steady pickup on EV. Moving relatively fast, financial analysts were debating whether the political Christ had wrought any serious harm on Ford's image in the market, or did Ford's courage and earning him the place alongside electric vehicles overshadow the people? At the same time, Europe's and Asia's responses to this very news have been quite positive, as overseas partners expressed enthusiasm for Ford's broadened reach. The battle over America's electric future. Farley didn't merely make an announcement, he threw some shade. In pointing at the Trump-era policies, he implied they were holding back progress in the EV space. It was an innovation. While the rest of the world moved on to greener pastures, certain things were holding back one of America's largest automotive giants. And Ford is making it clear that they will not wait any longer. They are doubling down on EVs, setting themselves for billions to be produced, setting themselves up for advanced electric trucks and commercial vehicles. Well, of course, Trump doesn't take being criticized easily. This isn't merely a car clash, it's the clash of ideals. Ford's vision of clean energy versus Trump's past policies. Fireworks are going off, and it promises to be a match worth a watch. Ford's gigantic pivot toward electric vehicles is about saving the planet, and it's also a grand play to ensure they will stay greatly in demand within the ever-evolving automobile industry. Tesla and Rivian have been doing quite well in the EV market, and Ford knows perfectly well that it's high time they stepped up, lest they risk being irrelevant. Jim Farley perfectly summed up the mission with a mic drop moment. The future is electric, and we ain't waiting for anybody to catch up. That means Ford is here to lead, not follow. This won't just be about business, it will be about freeing space from the political din. Ford insiders say the company is tired of getting mired in ancient arguments over clean energy. "We're building the future," one source said. "This isn't about picking sides. It is about progress for everyone." Meanwhile, Trump has gone full throttle. At a recent rally, he let loose on Ford and its EV push, calling it un-American and accusing the company of succumbing to globalist agendas. He painted a dire portrait of factories closing down, hard-working Americans being laid off, and dependence on foreign energy sources required to produce batteries. Trump denounced Ford leadership for woke environmental pandering, purporting that they have appeased climate activists, more interested in saving the trees than American families. The aftermath: who wins the war? But as this stage of the feud wound down, one thing was obvious. Ford had taken its side, and Trump had made his stand. No one was stepping back now. This was no longer just a clash over business strategy, but representative of the larger ideological battle for the future of America's economy. Would Ford's vision of a globally connected EV future win out? Or would Trump's insistence on economic nationalism result in a dramatic turnaround? The stakes had never been higher. During the way forward, Ford felt it was just a matter of time in embracing the shift in the global direction toward electric vehicles and expansion via global partnerships in production. The company viewed this as being mandatory for staying competitive in a fast-evolving world. CEO James Farley gripped tighter onto Ford's pledge of sustainability and innovation, arguing that the automaker had a duty not just to American workers, but also to the future of the planet. The automotive industry is at a crossroads. We can either lead the charge in the EV revolution or risk being left behind, Farley stated in a high-profile interview. But Trump and his followers were framing it entirely differently. In their view, Ford's decision represented the ultimate betrayal of American values and a sheer example of corporate greed. Trump's language became fiercer, claiming that Ford was abandoning the workers who had built the legacy of the company. "They're shipping our jobs overseas while hard-working Americans are left behind. It's unacceptable," he proclaimed, time after time, at rally after rally. Political grids and conferences split further. Some began drafting plausible tax penalties, while others pushed for incentives that would encourage jobs to stay home. Meanwhile, the consumer landscape became just as divided into factions as Ford itself, with some also supporting Ford's attempt to embrace innovation, while others turned their backs on the icon altogether. The fight was complicated. It became a manifestation of the bigger societal divide between progress and tradition, globalization and nationalism, greener future and preserving American industry. Each claimed to represent the heart of the nation's economic future. When all is said and done, everybody seems to be looking at Ford and Trump to see who will be the first to blink. Will Ford double down on their commitment to EVs, or will the backlash make it rethink this strategy? And how will the Trump loyal base react? One thing is for sure, this is hardly in the past. What do you think? Is Ford paving a way to a better future, or has Trump struck gold by calling them out? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.